fear is a tool. But when that light hits the sky, it's not just a call.
Okay, so this is not the typical style of video that I usually do. I'm going to take you on a personal journey that I went through. That's more like a twisted interrogation of a man that has a pretty severe allergy to spandex. Whenever I put it on, it crushes my junk and gives me irritable skin, metaphorically of course. And for months now, this Batman, or sorry, the Batman, has been looming over my head like a giant bloody bat signal. And I've been resisting it, because it's a dreaded superhero film, the lowest of the low genre in some elite film circles. The paedophile of cinema, if you will. Yet there was so much buzz, it felt like it was my professional duty, as I guess some sort of film critic, to see it through my glasballs.
Stop it, please, I beg you!
Why am I such a stubborn, wannabe non-conformist when it comes to this? I guess just at least for my own mental well-being, it's something I should explore. Now I consider myself a bit of a cinema freak. When a film I really want to see by a director I'm infatuated with comes out, like say recently with Licorice Pizza, I want to be there first showing, opening day. But with the Batman, I wasn't that desperate to see it. I wasn't there on opening day. And the more people went on about it, the less I wanted to go. Why was it grinding my gears so much? I guess it was just a wind rush on social media and seemingly in all corners of the film world, something that only really happens for films like this, or I don't know, Star Wars, and that irks me. But why does it? Why does it irk you, Julian? I don't really get annoyed that Drake is more popular than, say, Kendrick Lamar, although I wouldn't say that's reflected on social media. A new Kendrick album would get more cultural buzz and appreciation. Is that my problem? Is it that this film community that apparently I'm a part of are like enthusiastic lemmings for the superhero industrial complex? And for me personally, going into the film, no matter how open-minded I am and how much I hope that the film is going to knock my bloody socks off, I just know to a near certainty that it isn't going to affect me in the same way as my favourite films from last year, like Licorice Pizza, The French Dispatch, West Side Story, films that got to the core of my soul and pulverised my emotions. I was a sobbing mess through numerous parts of those films. Don't mock me, you bastards! I felt really vulnerable saying that. Really vulnerable. Like, I know I'm just speaking to a camera right now, but I'm just anticipating future mocking judgment, and it doesn't feel nice. I do get the idea that you can appreciate different types of films. You can like big old spectacles like Star Wars, and slow art films like Pedro Costa's Vitalina Varela, which is also part of its own Portuguese cinematic universe. You don't even know what I'm talking about, do you? God, it's sad that I get pleasure from that. I feel so superior, don't I? But as I'm sure you're aware, the stakes just feel higher now, because superhero films, and franchise films in general, have a fucking stranglehold over the industry, and it's impacting everything else. Audiences seem less and less interested in other biggish budgeted films. Good ones, like West Side Story, The Last Duel, or Nightmare Alley. Now there are a whole host of reasons why this is happening that I can perhaps get to in another video, but long story short, these films just aren't making enough cheddar, and therefore risk becoming obsolete. And as I already said, I have a spandex allergy, so I don't want the place that I love the most, the cinema, my church, to give me a scabies-like butt rash for the rest of my life. So clearly I had all this pent-up resentment towards this type of film before going into the theatre. That much is clear. And I wasn't there banging on the door opening day. But I did go on the Monday, and it came out on the Friday. So wow, Julian, you're so punk rock. You're such a rebel. Keep sticking it to the man, the same way you're sticking it to him right now with this very video. Can I manage to pull back a shred of dignity though, and say that I still haven't seen Spider-Man No Way Home? No, I wasn't one of those people in the crowd screaming, "Yay! Look, there's Andrew Garfield! Woo! He was that guy that was in that other Spider-Man film! And woo! Oh my god, look! That guy was also once a Spider-Man! I can't believe these three Spider-Men are in the same Spider-Man! And woo! I've come here dressed in a Spider-Man onesie, which kind of makes me like the fourth Spider-Man. which isn't really a fully fledged Spider-Man. It's more like being, I don't know, the Ringo Starr of Spider-Man. When I saw this Batman trailer months back, I could admit that it looked like a more interesting and unique version of this type of film. I thought, at the very least, I would dig it on an aesthetic level. And I liked many of the actors involved. Plus, I think Matt Reeves is a talented director, so I knew it was in good hands. And I guess I was up for this more grungy, adult version of the superhero universe. Good God, is it needed. The film looked like it had a personality and a point of view. It didn't appear like a paint-by-numbers Marvel job, which is how I feel about some of those films. You may feel differently. There's no shame in it. Or is there? Seriously, just do you. Don't listen to what a greying hipster with an Antonioni poster on the wall is saying, like trying to make you feel bad about your own life choices. I'm just trying to, cope with the trauma that's going on in my own life. And if you want some advice, like this may sound patronising, but if you want some advice, just find happiness wherever you can. Like, it's a tough old life. Just don't worry. Be happy.
To the Batmobile. Let's go.
So I thought I was willing to give this new incarnation of the Caped Crusader the time of day. But as I sat there watching it, I don't know if I was just distracted by things going on in my personal life. Clearly something's going on up here, but I just couldn't wait for it to end, if I'm honest. Like, after 2 hours, I had seen enough and I was ready to leave, and seriously contemplated leaving. Now, this reminds me of my father in a lot of ways, not because he left me when I was young, like, let's not go into that, but he used to be a basketball coach, right? And sometimes he would go to games to check out players, and often after like 10 minutes, he would say, "I've seen enough," and he would leave. Now, I'm not sure that was the best strategy for his career. Like, he probably should have stuck around for networking purposes, much like I wish he stuck around in my life. I'm joking. We've got a good relationship. The past is the past. But I do think, like, I shouldn't be repeating things that my father did. I should be trying to evolve and at least just give Matt Reeves the respect of, watching the entire film. But more importantly, give you, the audience, the respect. Because I gotta at least watch the entire film to be able to comment on it. So I did. But typically, I'm the opposite with videos usually. Like, I'll watch the film too many times. On my French Dispatch video, for example, I did 20 pages of notes, most of which went in the trash. But I want to absorb everything I can, look into every crevice. I guess subconsciously, if we're really going to dig into my mind's inner workings, I was trying to throw shade on this Batman, the Batman, by saying, "Fuck you superheroes, I'm better than you. I'm not even going to dignify you with the courtesy of watching the entire film. I've seen enough." And as I get out of my seat and leave the theatre, I'm going to shout it to the whole audience. "I've seen enough. I get it. I think it's shit." Having said that, I was impressed on a technical level. I could see it was beautifully crafted in that way, so I gave credit where credit was due. I don't hate superhero films in principle. One of my most vivid memories as a child was Batman Returns coming out on VHS. I watched that film obsessively, which, now I think about it, might explain why I am like I am, because that's a disturbing film to watch as a child. I rewatched it recently as well and still loved it, because Tim Burton wasn't making a superhero film, he was making a Tim Burton film with superheroes taking the place of his usual cast of monstrous freaks. I can relate to that. And it's dark, surreal, dirty, horny. Like, it's really horny. Like, really, really horny.
Just the pussy I've been looking for.
And if I have any sexual compulsions in my adult life, it could be from that film. Actually, scratch that, because the Catwoman reminds me of my mother quite a bit. She's blonde and used to wear a lot of leather. Like, please get this thought out of my mind. Maybe because of that disturbance, actually, I diverted my attraction to people that look like the Penguin. Maybe I like a bit of sadomasochism, but with a wet flipper. Just slap me, baby, with a wet or leather flipper.
I want in.
To be serious though, I do agree with filmmakers like Pedro Almodovar and Steven Soderbergh who say that superhero films are weirdly asexual. And I have always been infatuated with Danny DeVito's Penguin. Not like that, but it's just such an iconic performance in my mind. It's probably my favourite superhero villain performance of all time. and I think Michelle Pfeiffer as the Catwoman is pretty iconic too. So as I was watching this new Batman, I had a hard time shaking those associations. Not the penguin sex thing or the mother leather thing, but other actors stepping into the shoes of these legends.
I got you! I got you!
As I've made abundantly clear, I can be a stubborn guy, but I also think I have another, more thoughtful side. I don't just want to live off my surface emotions and drive myself into the ground. It's a daily battle. There are good days and bad. But there are enough people that I respect that were saying the film was good, and there was one friend in particular that said, Julian, you were never going to like the film with the attitude you had going in the first time, so okay, I gave it another shot. This time, I did it large. I did it in IMAX. What did I do in IMAX? Masturbate? It's a darkened theatre. No one can see you. It's the ultimate thrill, like IMAX. No, what I mean is that I had this process when the mass film culture is appreciating a film and I'm not quite on board with it yet. I feel obliged to see it again, to see if I can get on the same page as everyone else, maybe because I ultimately do want to fit in. I remember it happening, quite a long time ago with Inception. Now, I'm a fan of Christopher Nolan and respect what that film does in a lot of ways, but it just didn't work for me as much as it did for others, and I went back to the theatre at least 2 more times to see if I could repair my initial perception of Inception, but it just ended up magnifying the issues. I've also never been the biggest fan of his Batman films. I mean, I do like them. They're certainly very good for superhero films, but that's a low bar. Okay, I guess what you actually want to hear about is this second screening of Batman. Sorry, The Batman. That's what this whole thing's been leading up to. Get on with it, Julian. So let me think. I was leaving the IMAX, walking out into busy Leicester Square, London, thinking about how did I feel about, I liked it, okay? I liked it this time. I got it. Are you happy now? And it wasn't just on an aesthetic level. Everything this time worked in synergy. On the first viewing, I had a hard time with all the performances. They all felt too heightened and broad, which is a problem that I often have with many of these big budget films, where the stakes are so exaggerated. But it turns out I just wasn't on the wavelength of the film, because this time everyone, worked for me. I really dug the noirish spidery web of corruption and the cinematic allusions to things like Seven, which many have mentioned. I also felt there were traces of Dario Argento giallo films with all the POV shots. And there was one scene where the Riddler was in the back of the car that felt like a nod to the original Halloween. It seemed like Reeves was consciously trying to make cinema in a way that even our maestro Martin Scorsese could appreciate. Could being the operative word. The jury's out on that. So long story short, I think it's the best superhero film I've seen in a very long time. It might even be the best big budget franchise film I can think of in recent memory. Still, I'm not sure it's going to make my year-end top 10. I see what I'm doing here. Clearly, I still want to give it a backhanded compliment and say, oh, it's good and all, but it's not going to make my illustrious top 10 list. I did my one from last year. I put it on my community tab. I don't think that many people even saw it, but clearly what's happening here is that I still have shame associated to, me enjoying the film, me talking about the film. This very video is just layers upon layers of deep shame, and I still have a lot of work to do. So what's the point of this? Where did it get us? Why did I do this to myself? And you? I guess I obviously have some emotions that are both connected to my personal life, but also the cinematic landscape, which often feels to me very personal. And it also often feels like it's as corrupt as Gotham City itself. So, like the Batman, we've all got to do our bit to try and improve things, I'm sure. And respect to Matt Reeves for doing that, for elevating the game, because hopefully long term, if there's more films like this, then audiences are going to respect a higher caliber of work from these types of films and aren't just going to settle for the corporate product that they seem to be lapping up. It's a dream. That's a lot of superhero films probably still, but I can live with that, I guess. What choice do I have? I also thought I just wanted to give my audience a closer look on video about what I'm actually like. I mean, it is exaggerated, but it's basically me, I guess. I'm not the godlike, omniscient narrator. I also have, human foibles and real feelings. And a lot of those feelings are conflicted, twisted ones about the current state of cinema. Newsflash! Why did that need restating? Anyway, that's me done.
Justice. The answer's justice.
It's said by many that the key to success in our current online world is authenticity. And this video is sort of my attempt to do that in a creative way. So if you want to do something similar, there are creativity classes you can take with this video sponsor Skillshare. One specific class I looked at was Creativity Unleashed by Nathaniel Drew, an online content creator who teaches you how to develop, use, and share your creative ideas with others in an authentic way. Because it's one thing to have a creative idea, but it's another being able to communicate that in a clear and engaging way. So Nathaniel's classes can help you harness what makes you unique. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for anyone who loves learning and wants to explore their creativity. So if you want to further develop a skill, or if you're looking to learn something new, like photography, illustration, or graphic design, Skillshare is the perfect place to start. And the first 1,000 people that click the link in the description will get a 1-month free trial of premium membership.